What's up, y'all? Hey, I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. I had some thoughts that I wanted to share with all of you. And the topic that I'm landing on is self-criticism. Self-criticism is something that I really struggle with. I have for my entire life. And as I'm learning more about how I operate, how I think, I also am seeing that there are so many ways that I have learned to think about myself in particular that are really unhealthy. And self-criticism is one of those areas that I've really struggled with. I would imagine there are many people that this would resonate with them. So I thought I would approach it from, well, my personal perspective, but also some of the things that I've learned when I was in treatment, for example. The book that I'm really happy that I found was, this one is Richard C. Schwartz, and the book is called No Bad Parts. It's Healing Trauma and Restoring Wholeness with the Internal Family Systems Model. So really quickly, internal family systems model. So if you look at a family unit, no matter what it looks like, there's different parts. So there could be, for example, like the role of a father. That's a role within the family system. And how that part, that father in the example, interacts with the child is something that has to be looked at, especially in situations where a child is in therapy and maybe need healing. And so they bring in the whole family to discuss what's going on, because those are important parts. None of us exist in isolation. Even if you live alone and you just go to the store, you're around people, and that's part of a system. Some ways of interaction are healthier than others. Some roles are downright detrimental, or they could be really healthy. But in internal family systems model, we look at what's going on inside of us, like what system, what parts make up the whole. One of the most prominent parts for me throughout my life has been the self-critic. And you have to read the book to get a more in-depth understanding of how this all works. But just using the part of me that is self-criticizing, my critic, how that plays out in everyday life is, well, back up. So growing up in abuse, I became very aware of criticism, took it very hard, and developed this idea that I wasn't good enough. If you struggle with the idea that you're not good enough, whether it's you're not good enough at your job, or you're not good enough in your relationship, your marriage, your parent-child relationship, that idea is there for a reason. Mine was, in order to prevent physical abuse, I was really hard on myself. I was getting external criticism for something I did wrong, and then moving forward, I would continue to criticize myself. If something happened, I did something wrong, I broke rules, whatever, and I got punished, that stuck in my mind, like, how can I prevent this? I didn't think about this stuff as a kid, obviously. But as an adult and in therapy and learning about all of this, that was a way for me to protect myself. our brains work in that way. If something bad happens, and let's just say physically you get hurt, you're going to do what you can to prevent that from happening again. That's how our brains work. It's a good idea. You don't want to be hurt, right? So it's all about self-preservation. Well, in abuse, when you grow up in abuse, you develop this idea of how can I prevent the abuse? And as a kid, you just don't really know what to do. That's why a lot of children feel that it was their fault that they were abused in whatever way. But in my life in particular, I developed a low self-esteem, low sense of self-worth, low self-confidence. All of these things manifested from those traumatic events. So what I'm working on now as an adult, I don't need to criticize myself. There's no good that comes in my life from criticizing what I do as not being good enough. I know that I'm good enough. I know I'm talented. I'm smart. I'm a friendly person. There's all these good things, but when it comes down to making mistakes or screwing up or whatever you want to call it, I'm incredibly hard on myself. Well, I'm working on not doing that and changing the way I think to, okay, that went wrong. How can I prevent it? Not, oh my gosh, I'm such a piece of shit. Why am I doing this anyway? I mean, there are so many times when I'll be working on a project, whether it's business or home in the yard, and something goes wrong, and depending on my mood and if I catch it or not, I'm beating myself up. Like, I should have thought of that. Why didn't I think of that? And now this is happening, and I'm only starting to get better at seeing things that go wrong as simply that. Something went wrong. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean that I'm a fuck up. It doesn't mean that I can't do what I'm doing. But the way I've thought for so long, I just recently turned 53, and it's amazing how embedded these beliefs, these agreements are that I've made with myself. But those agreements were based on abuse. So they are up here as far as criticism and attaching it to my sense of self-worth and my talent, my ability. That's out of proportion with, oh, something went wrong. Okay, that was my fault. How can I not do that again? Just the other day, there was an issue that happened with my roaster. I had 15 pounds of green coffee in the roaster, and I was roasting, and it sped up. And next thing you knew, it was like almost done. I'm like, what is going on? And so I dumped the coffee, and there was a gap that something had slipped. It was loose, it had slipped, and all the beans just poured down under the burners. I know you probably don't understand this, but there was nothing I did wrong that caused that to happen. But I lost 15 pounds of coffee, and I was just like freaking out. Well, it ends up that I just needed to make an adjustment. I fixed it. It wasn't a big deal, but I still was like, that's a lot of money that just went away. I was able to actually look at it as an issue that I didn't do anything. I didn't neglect anything. I didn't do anything that would have caused that. So that's an easy example for me to say, okay, that was really frustrating. How can I prevent that? Okay, I know what I need to check now from now on, just to make sure that things are tight and not going to slip out of alignment. But previously, I mean, this time last year, it probably would have sent me into a tailspin. I would have just quit for the day, not been able to finish. But fortunately, I've learned that being hard on myself about something is never going to lead to a positive outcome. All it does for me is puts me in a tough position personally where I have to dig myself out of that rut of despair of, oh my gosh, why am I even a coffee roaster? I don't even know what I'm doing. It sounds really exaggerated, but it is. Like, that's the truth of the matter. Now what I'm trying to do is look at my self-critic through the lens of there are no bad parts. That is not something that I was able to do until now, and it's still a struggle. But the point of internal family systems, the model of therapy, is that just because I have a self-critic doesn't mean it needs to be operating at the same level that it did when I was a kid, because I was trying to protect myself. So this protector part, the self-criticism, is there for a reason, and it was a good reason, but now that reason has changed. The reason is not there anymore. I'm not trying to protect myself. What's the worst thing that could happen if I accidentally lose 15 pounds of coffee? It sucks. It's really not a good thing, but I don't have to look at it as a personal failure. I didn't do anything wrong. The way that I work on this is I will look at my critic throughout the day. Sometimes I'll jot notes down, like point out when that happened. But more than that, I just look at it like, oh my gosh, I'm really beating myself up about this. I don't need to do that anymore. How can I prevent this from happening? It sounds really simple, and I'm sure to some people it's like, oh, well, that's just how I do things. Well, if you've suffered trauma, if you have trauma from abuse or neglect or anything like that, you probably have a little more in common with me than you think, because you just beat yourself up repeatedly about things that you think you shouldn't have done or should have done, and then you're shooting all over yourself. So in my experience, when you have a situation that goes wrong, and the most difficult situations for me in terms of the self-criticism is in my relationship with Megan. If I feel like I've done something or said something that hurt her, or she told me, when you did this, it made me feel bad. Whatever it might have been, I take that so hard because I see this as, that's me. I'm the one that hurt her by saying or doing or not doing something. And so I think, oh, I don't deserve to be in this relationship. She deserves better. I've kind of gotten away from that now, but that was a real struggle in the beginning. You can ask Megan, she will tell you. I didn't believe that she loved me, even though I did and said things that were hurtful. It was never intentional, but the fact that I said or did what I did was hurtful to her, and in her eyes, I'm bringing this up so that we can work it out, so that we can not let this happen again. And me, I was focused on, well, this is the way I am, and I'm sorry, hopefully it won't happen again. I'm different now in that I see it as, I feel that agony of, I did this and hurt the person that I loved the most, but it's a learning experience now, and it's something that doesn't have to be attached to me as a person. Like, she knows I love her and I will do anything for her, but I'm still working on changing the way I think so that it doesn't happen again. Anyway, if you struggle with self-criticism, I would really, really highly recommend looking up Richard Schwartz, no bad parts. It's the internal family systems model of therapy. It's a game changer for me and how I relate to that self-criticism. I'm not trying to get rid of it or extract it or push it away. I'm just trying to see it for what it is and observe it, and then realize, oh, that's there for a reason. I don't have to attach to that. I'm not a bad person. I'm not awful. And it's still a struggle, but man, the progress has really started happening, and I'm able to sit and talk about it on a video, and admit that these are really strong parts of me that were there for a reason, but now there's no need for that, and I can start to change the way I relate to those parts of myself. So there you go. I think that's about it. I love you guys. If you're struggling right now, you're watching this video, reach out to somebody. Please don't isolate. You can reach out to me, reach out to a loved one, but you are worth it. You are worthy. You're enough. And I love you, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.